Hi,
Great.
Phyllis. Thanks for taking a minute out.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Where are you located?
I'm in Taos, New Mexico.
Oh, wonderful. I hear good things about there.
Oh, I love it here. And where are you?
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
All right. Never been to Missouri.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Kansas City's kind of a surprising little arts hub. So it's a great
Oh,
place.
sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
Nice.
for sure. Well, hey, I want to begin our conversation with what we've went through for the last 3.5 years, living through a global pandemic. How did you get through it and how did it change you?
Well, I think I was fortunate because I had already been doing my work online before the pandemic started. And so and I, live in a sort of an isolated place up in the mountains and um I was just able to kind of continue my life the way that it had been, with, obviously with all the restrictions of, couldn't see my kids for a while and, so, wearing masks to the store and being scared of touching food from the grocery store and all those things. Yeah. So unlike some people, I had clients who, children couldn't go to school and they were trying to work and had their kids at home. I didn't really have any of that. So I was extremely fortunate. But I will say one thing, just more on a more global level. I think I was very saddened to see, well, obviously I was very saddened by the deaths and by the panic and the fear and and all of what came down with the pandemic, and especially in our country, it became so politicized and people were fighting about whether it was true or not while people were dying, just the whole thing that we all experienced. But I was really saddened because I felt like the pandemic was global, and I felt like it was just the most amazing opportunity for us to become a global community and really work together to resolve, to solve, to cure, to find answers. And it didn't really play out that way.
Yeah.
It became competitive and political and argumentative and all kinds of theories that people fought about and divided families over. And I just felt like we lost an amazing opportunity as the human race to really become one world for the sake of all of us. So
Yeah.
that saddened me a lot.
Yeah, that's well said, and I agree. I think there were some countries where there was a level of unification, but America tends to be the leader of the clown show. So it's like, we can't just have a global pandemic. We have to have a racial uprising with George Floyd, and then we have to have, people in office that just can't stick to science. There's just a lot that goes into it that's just unfortunate.
A lot, a lot. And I think it was really sad because we lost an amazing opportunity to actually evolve to
Yeah.
where I think we need to go.
But I think there was a lot of people, when I asked this question, a lot of people talk about the silver linings. I think there was a lot of individual, yeah, but this like as a community and globally, I think, yeah, there was a lot of balls that were dropped for something that was so magnanimous as this was.
Right. And I think it's important to talk about the silver linings. I know just from being on podcasts that a lot of people started their podcasts
Yeah.
during the pandemic because they wanted to communicate, they wanted to create community, they wanted just to, spread information and understanding. And so there are a lot of silver linings, and there was a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah. So on paper, you're an author and a psychotherapist, but I want to get to the essence of what you do. If I put you in front of a bunch of third graders, it's career day, and one of the kids curiously looks up and asks you, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Well, I think in that sense, I would say as a psychotherapist and as an author, that my commitment is to help people reconnect and resolve their conflicts without violence toward each other, to really resolve conflict peacefully and come back to a place of love and cooperation and deep understanding of our differences. And that's pretty much pervades everything that I do.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
I wanted to be a writer ever since
Okay.
I was a little girl. I don't know about third grade. I don't know if I had a career aspiration that young, but by the time I was in middle school, I knew I wanted to be a writer. I don't know how.
Right. So dream come true. So talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised and kind of the seeds and evolution that you went through to get to a point where you're genuinely doing things that are helping people. And, you're also writing, but, there's a part of you that's helping a lot of people. How did that happen?
Well, I think like so many people, we kind of teach what we came to learn ourselves. And, and that sometimes our greatest pain has become our greatest gift. And I think that's hopefully the best way that we can give that opportunity to other people, that their pain can actually become a gift. So I grew up in a middle class family in New Jersey, a highly educated family, with huge emphasis on education, which I really value and appreciate, and I'm very thankful for. And I loved school. I loved learning. I loved reading. I loved writing. I loved all those things. And there was some sexual abuse in my childhood that really devastated my life. And so I had this odd juxtaposition between feeling competent on one level in the world and feeling very at a loss emotionally inside myself. And so that really colored my life. I survived by being a good student. And on the inside, when I grew up, people didn't go to therapy. They didn't talk about therapy. I had no memory of what had happened to me. I just was sort of struggling to stay alive. And long story, emotionally. And long story short, by the time I was married and had 3 kids, it just kind of collapsed, and I ended up in therapy. And it changed my life,
Yeah.
to start to understand that our conditioning, the things we learn about ourselves, the experiences we have with other people really do determine so much about what we think and feel about ourselves, how we cope, the expression we have in the world. Um, I remember walking up my driveway when my kids were little and having this moment. It really stands out to me. I don't know where it came from or why, but I had this moment that I knew that there was something inside of me that was so much bigger than what I was able to express in the world. And and I think, our healing work helps people uncover who they really are and the gifts that they really have, or whatever their expression is. It doesn't have to be something huge. It can just be, your love of nature, or you're an artist, or you're a writer, or you're a great mom or dad, or whatever. But that, the things that hurt us with other people bury some of that because we're just struggling to survive. And the healing work that I did really opened up my connection to myself that I was longing for.
So who's been a hero for you in your life?
Who's been a hero for me? That's a great question. Um, there's lots of heroes in my life in a way. I had a teacher in high school. That was my first hero, who thought I was a good writer. And that reflection really helped me. It showed me something about myself that I couldn't have seen on my own. And I think I would just say that we need that reflection. So I think, in some ways, our heroes are people who either inspire us to become our greatest selves and show that it's possible, um, or they reflect back to us our own strengths and help us become those people ourselves. So that was my first hero.
Yeah.
Um, and I had spiritual teachers along the way that were very powerful for me. Um, yeah, I guess, I would say my children are my heroes.
Yeah. Yeah.
My present husband is my hero. My friends are my heroes. I don't need big heroes.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
and then there's people in the world who totally inspire me, by the magnificence of what they're doing, and I could name 100 of them. But really, I think it comes down to like who really touches in us who we were meant to be.
Yeah. So, of all those inspirational people, if you could meet one person on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
Somebody's asked me that question before, and I always have the same answer. I grew up Jewish, but the person I would love to meet would be Jesus, actually.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, what is the inspiration for you to get up every day, to write, to help people, to do all of these things that lend to who you are? What is that inspiration for you?
Yeah, and that's funny because I was thinking about this morning when I woke up, was like, I'm so grateful that I have a meaning and purpose to my life at this stage of my life that's beyond the personal, which I love. I love my family and I love where I live and all of that. Um, but it's really that I just feel so much compassion for the human race. And I just want to be of service. And that's why I wrote the present book that I just finished called America in Therapy, because I want to share what's been meaningful to me, what's helped me heal. I want to share that on the biggest level that I'm able to do. And I know I'm one of thousands and thousands of people who are also trying to do that. And I just want to be a part of that.
So, what's been the best advice you've ever gotten?
Yeah. You know, Well, I'll tell you the first thing that comes to my mind. I had a friend in the 60s. We were all part of that. I was part of that generation, and spirituality was a really big deal among the people that I associated with when I was in college. And I had a friend who went to India to look for his guru, and he told me this story when he got back, and it sort of stayed with me my whole life. He had contact lenses at that time, and at that time contact lenses were made out of glass. I don't know if you know that, but the
Yeah.
first were made out of glass. And he was on a train in India looking for his guru, and it was very dusty and dirty, and all this dust got into his eyes. And by the time he actually found this master in India, he was in extraordinary pain because the dust had gotten behind the lenses, and his eyes were all inflamed. And he told me that he sat in front of this man, and the man told him, don't fight it, just be with it. That resistance causes more pain. And I never forgot that story.
Yeah.
I never forgot it. And so at times in my life, I didn't suffer from extreme physical pain, but emotionally I had a lot of pain. And I always remembered that story. And I tried so hard not to fight it, but to just be with it and breathe with it. And I would come back to that because of course I had massive resistance like any human being would have. Um, and that became kind of a foundation for me of like, I don't think just being with it is enough. I think it's a starting point. I think I think acceptance on a very deep level is the starting point for change.
So, let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into a 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could
Mm.
give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you gained up to this point in your life. What advice would you dispense on that young version of you?
I think two things come to my mind right away. And the first one is that because I've learned this and I've said this to countless clients. I've worked with a lot of abuse and neglect because there is a lot of abuse and neglect in our society. It's quite epidemic, and I don't know if people really know that. Um, but so the first thing that I would say is you are not what happened to you. There is an essence inside of you that is not defined by anything that anyone projected onto you, anything that you experienced that was difficult. There is a pure essence inside of you that can be uncovered and can be brought into the light of day, and you deserve that. And the second thing I would say is get help. Go to therapy, talk to someone. If you're suffering from anything that's happened to you with other people that has left you with a difficult feeling about yourself, or with coping mechanisms that aren't working in your life, if you're walling off, or if you're raging, or if you're becoming an addict, or if you're obsessed, or if you're depressed, or if you're highly anxious, or whatever you might be suffering from, there is help. And it's not your fault that you have whatever symptoms you have. There is a way to uncover the cause, and there is a way to heal what happened to you. And I wish I had known that when I was young. I mean, that was just not a language that anyone spoke when I was young.
Yeah. So, you obviously we need to be anonymous, but do you have a favorite success story of working with the client and helping them through?
Yeah, I do. I'll tell. I have a couple. Um, I'll tell one. yeah, I don't know which one to pick, but I'll pick one. So, I worked with someone who came to therapy because their spouse asked them to come. They didn't want to come to therapy. And this person was very intellectual, sort of a head person, wasn't interested in therapy or emotional exploration at all. They probably did, I don't know, a handful of sessions and they never came back. And a year later, this person called me and said that their spouse was going to leave and they wanted to do some work. And we worked together, a year or two, maybe, I don't remember. And this person did the deepest work that I would never have imagined knowing them from where they started. And by the time they left, their marriage was repaired. And one of the things that they said to me when they left therapy was, no one recognizes me. People say to me, what did you do? You are a completely different person. And, and I tell that story because we don't know what's inside people. I had a judgment about them a little bit, to begin with. Well, this person's just not interested in therapy and, they're probably going to lose their relationship and, nothing I can do. And it was all about their motivation. It was all about, life dealt them a blow that they decided to take. Like my spouse is going to leave me. I don't want that.
Yeah.
And so, that's sort of what I really hope for the human race is we're on such a precipice of self-destruction in our country and in our world. And I'm hoping that'll be the wake-up call.
Yeah. So professionally speaking, what are you the proudest of that you've done so far?
Professionally speaking. Well, that's hard for me. I'm a little hard on myself. So,
Right.
no, but I'm happy that I'm retired now from my practice and I only working on writing, but I'm happy that I had 34 years of a psychotherapy practice that was really successful and that many people left feeling differently about themselves and their lives than they came in. And I had that help and I wanted to share that. So, I guess I would say I'm proud of that. I'm proud of having stuck it out to write the books that I've written, because it's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's professionally.
Okay. So everyone out there has an idea of who they think you are. All your readers, all of your patients, family, friends, all of these people in your world, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I like to say it this way. I think I'm an ordinary person who has had extraordinary experiences. And I think that we all deserve and are capable of that. I don't see myself as like above or below the rest of the population of the earth. I feel that I've been very fortunate because I was able to have really significant help to heal from the things that hurt me. And it changed my life. And I know there's millions of people out there who don't have that. And that's part of my motivation. And that's part of what drives me to do what I do, because I know that what I've learned is not common knowledge. And I want it to be common knowledge. I'd like to see psychology taught as one of our main courses in high school and junior high, family dynamics, trauma, healing. It just couldn't be more of an essential issue.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to get your books, learn more about you, reach out, however they want to do it, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, just I have a website. It's just my name, www.phyllisleavitt.com. And my books are sold wherever you buy books, Amazon, they're on Barnes and Noble, wherever your favorite bookstore is, you can look up my name and see the books that I've written. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And I'm on all the social media, LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and all that. Yeah.
Excellent. Phyllis, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your insights, for your story, and for your time today. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. You've been a great host.
Thank you. Take care.